In this video, I'm going to show you how to build this Growlight fixture that is in my basement and looks really illegal, but I promise you it's not. So the frame of the thing is made out of wood, and then we hang shop lights or LED strip lights from that wooden frame. And I've got it set up on these ropes so that it's adjustable height. So it's really easy to adjust the height of the whole frame. Or I can tip it if I've got a little taller plants on that side than on this side. I can raise that side up, leave this side down. So all four corners are adjustable. And use this to raise, like right now I've got, these are some hazelnut cuttings. Some of them are not doing great. I cut them in the fall. It was really late fall, so I didn't expect much, but a few of them look like they're gonna make it. I've got some chestnuts that I just planted a few days ago, and most of these flats are white oak acorns, and those are have all thrown root, and I got them in the flats the same night as these chestnuts. So I would expect those to, start popping up and look like little baby trees here real soon. I used this exact setup last year to raise hundreds of plants. I did Chinese chestnuts, American persimmon, some pawpaw. Did some miscellaneous stuff. I did some pumpkins and some tomatoes and some American milkweed, or excuse me, common milkweed. So this light setup works really good for a lot of different things. It's fairly inexpensive. I'm going to show you how to build a frame that is roughly 4 feet wide by 8 feet long, which of course then covers 32 square feet. And the cost of this thing is going to be under $100. So it's going to be right around $90. So let's go up into the shop. I'll show you what it takes to make it. So we're out in the shop and I've got the frame for the thing already put together. It is as simple as you'll need two 2x4s. So that's part of the cost. It's about, I think I said it earlier, it's about $87 to build this whole rack. And part of that cost is, it's 80 bucks for the lights and it's 7 bucks for the lumber. You're gonna need some screws. I guess you can figure that in for a couple of bucks. So you'll need two 2x4s and you're gonna rip them to length, or you're gonna rip them in half long ways, because they're plenty strong. Half a 2x4 is plenty strong for this frame. And I'm using 3-inch 10 gauge deck screws because that's what I got on hand. They work real good for this. You can get them on Amazon, is the cheapest place to get those. I keep them on hand out in the shop just because those are a real handy size screw for a lot of outdoor projects. You don't need outdoor screws for this, of course, but they work real well for it. So you rip the 2x4s in length long ways, and you'll keep them full length on the long sides. So the long sides are 96 inches. I didn't cut those down at all. That's one 2x4. That and that. This is one 2x4 ripped in half. This half is on this side, the other half on that side. Then that second 2x4, we cut it down. Here's where you can modify the width of your frame. So for me, because I want to make them about 48 inches wide, I cut my 2x4s, these center 4, I cut them all to, I think it ended up being like 45 inches, and comes out to about 48 and a half inches width. So screw them in, pre-drill, depending on your lumber, you're probably gonna have to pre-drill the holes. So anyhow, that's the frame. Real simple, real basic frame. So that's the saw I'm using, just a regular old circular saw, nothing fancy about it. So once we get the frame laid out, then we're gonna start adding lights to it. And these lights come in a kit. There's a lot of kits that are similar on Amazon. This kit right now, I picked these up on Black Friday sale. I think I bought 40 lights because I'm doing this project. I did another project. So I got them on a Black Friday sale for like, I don't know, 60 some dollars for a 10 pack. I just checked and the current price on them is $80, $79.99. So Still a really good deal for the amount of light you get. You won't be able to find any other shop lights or grow lights for nearly this kind of price. So when you get on Amazon, I'll pop up a little screenshot of this kit. So when you're deciding which lights to get, if you can't find that exact kit that I got, look for something that is on the clear rating for Kelvin, for the color rating. Like these are 5000 K, and that's considered a white light. That's not, the blue end is anything more than about 5500, you're getting to the blue end, and anything less than 5000, you're getting toward the red end of the spectrum. So just for an all-purpose grow light like we're using here, 5000 K is what you're looking for, and get the very most lumens that you can. These are listed as 6300 lumens per fixture. So lumens is the amount of light that it's putting out, how bright it is, and Kelvin is the color, blue, red, white. So again, these are 5000 K, 6300 lumen. That's a pretty good lumen rating. That's a good output for a light of this size. A lot of them are like, you want to look for a kit that has a handful of these switches. You're going to need at least 2 of these switches. Most of the kits come with them. You're also going to need these links that will hook in. Each end is the same. So what these do is these connect multiple lights together. And the light fixtures that you're looking for, you want the fixture that are able to plug into each end. So make sure that you can, like over here, for instance, we're coming out of this fixture with one of those links of wire, and we're going into this fixture. And then if we come over here on the end, so we're going out to the next one. But if we come over here, we follow this wire up, and that goes to this switch. And then that plugs into a 3-way plug here. So you want to make sure when you're buying your fixtures, when you're looking on the Amazon listings, make sure they've got that they can plug in from both ends, and that will allow you the versatility you're going to need to link these together. So I make 2 banks. These are up to 6 lights can be linked in a series. But for this project, if you get the 10-pack, you can put 5 lights on a frame, or 5 lights on a side. The way my math worked out, and I've used these frames for over a year now for grow lights. I like putting 4 light fixtures, and that works really well. So, but this side controls, this switch controls these 4 lights, and it's independent of this side, which is controlled by this switch, controls those 4 lights. So in these kits also, make sure you get a couple of them with switches. Make sure they come with the links to tie them together. And also, they might come with these where you could butt 2 fixtures up together. We don't necessarily need those for this project, but make sure that they come with, and they should, I've put them all in my pouch already. They come with these clips. This is how you're gonna affix it to the frame. And they also come with the screws. I've already put them in my pouch. So if you've got screws on hand, use whatever you got, or they come with, these come in this kit, and they work very well. So make sure the listing, I saw some listings, they didn't advertise enough of these. So like this is a 10-pack of lights. Some of the listings didn't have enough. Like for 10 lights, you're gonna need 20 of these clips. Some of the listings I saw, and I'm sure it's a mistake, well, I hope it's a mistake, but it'd be like a 10-pack of lights and it only come with like 16 clips. Well, that's not enough clips to hang all the lights. So anyhow, so now, depending on how the spacing that you want, again, for my frame here, what I'm doing, I'm using 4 fixtures. If you wanted to do 5, you could just change your spacing a little bit. But I'm coming in from the inside 5 inches. That's that mark. I come in from this side 5 inches for the first one on this side. And then every 13 inches, I'm hanging a light. So 5 inches plus 13, plus 13, plus 13, and then 5 inches. So that's how I'm doing that. I'm gonna grab my drill. I'm gonna do 2 hands. I'm gonna grab my drill, and these things are really easy to mount up. So you take that little clip, grab your screw. 1 screw per clip is all this takes. I'm gonna run that screw. I'm gonna use my drill, and I'm just gonna run that screw with that clip in right here. And when you bear down on it, or excuse me, when you tighten that screw down, leave it to where this can wiggle just a little bit. That's gonna help you when we go to attach the lights in the next step. So you don't wanna crank this down so tight that you can't turn it at all. You wanna be able to turn that a little bit. So go ahead and put your clips in. I'm gonna do that, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so that only took me a couple of minutes just to run around here. I had already made my marks, my little pencil marks, again at 5, 18, 31, and 44, just stretching the tape across there. And I'm just centering them up by eyeball. This rack, actually, when I built the rack, you could use a square to build it and everything, but I actually just eyeballed it too. It's just gotta be close. I mean, if this thing is out of square, that's no problem at all. Now, if you're building your benches or, tables or whatever, you're gonna want those to be square. But as far as this light fixture frame goes, if it's a little out of whack, it's not really gonna matter. So the next thing to do is take our lights, and again, because they've got a connection on either end, it doesn't matter which way's which. And we're just gonna, again, now this is why we left a little wiggle in these things. So if I tighten that down and it was like that, and I go to clip this in, it's not gonna clip in. So it's just a little bit of wiggle, just don't bear down on them when you're putting these in, and you get a little bit of wiggle out of them. So now, I don't want my light hanging that far off the frame here. I've got a fair amount of adjustability here. I mean, I can slide this a few inches the way that I've got this built. I don't want my light hanging way off because my benches are only 8 feet long. So if I got my light hanging way out here, that means the center of my bench is gonna be dark. So I'm gonna slide that up till that white is just about even with the edge. And this might take me 2 hands here because you kind of pivot it in and then rock the thing in. You sort of push over on it and snap it down, and it'll snap into those clips. I'm afraid this is gonna take me 2 hands. So you get the sort of the idea of what I'm doing here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to, well, that went in and this side popped out. So I'm gonna take 2 hands and just snap this in. Okay, it only just took me a second. So I got it snapped in, and that's all that holds this on. It's just that little clip is squeezing in on this light fixture. And if I really want to, I can still slide it a little bit, but I pretty well got it where I want it. So I'm gonna do that on the rest of them, and then I'll show you how easy it is to wire these things up. Okay, so that only took me just a couple of minutes to walk around here and snap all those in. So now the thing to do is to decide based on your setup where you want to plug the thing in. Like, depend on your setup, you might want to plug it in from the corner. Like if you had an outlet where you're going to put it right here on the wall, or if you had an outlet in your ceiling, you want it right in the center, or if you want on the other end. For my situation, I'm going to figure, plugging it in from the very center, and then I'm going to work extension cords to make it, hook these together. So, and I'm going to string these in series with each other. So anyhow, I'm going to sort of centralize both my plugs about right here. So to do that, I want this 4 lights to be one bank with a switch, and then I want this 4 lights to be another bank with a switch. So like if I only had just a handful of flowers or plants or whatever, I just put them under this 4x4 section, turn that light on, and then I don't have to use those if I don't want to. So to do that, it's really simple. So I pulled the twisty ties off of these already. So I'm gonna need 2 switches. So this little plug end here has got a switch on it. So, sorry for the camera work here. Okay, so I got my plug end with a switch, and I'm gonna stab this in there. camera. So push it in all the way, you know, hold the tube with one hand and push it in. Make sure it's good and firm in there. So that's sort of the start of the run, and now we want to link them together. So now we're going to use these linking wires, and we're going to go from, so we got the power coming in here, and we want to link this one to this next one to energize it. So that is as simple as plugging this in here. I just don't have two hands to do this, so use two hands, plug that there, plug the other end here, and then I'm gonna grab another one of these wires, and we're gonna go from the end there to this end, and I'm gonna grab another one of the wires, and I'm gonna go from here to there. Okay, so again, that only took just a few seconds. So now we got our plug going in here, and then this is called wiring in series. So we're coming from the end here, around here, out that end, it loops in, connects to this one, from this end to this one, and then on this end, it's open. And because we don't want those electrical connections in there exposed to the dirt and humidity and stuff, this kit comes with, among other things, these little plugs, these little caps. So I'm gonna take one of these little plugs, and on the end, to keep the dirt and bugs and everything else out of here, might take me two hands again. Oh, there we go. So that little plug cleans up the look of it, keep dirt and bugs and stuff out of it. So now, this bank is done, other than just tidying it up with some zip ties. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. Got a whole pocket full of zip ties here, and I'm just gonna sort of decide where I want my plug and then tidy up these wires. I'll show you what it looks like after I do that. So I plugged in the wires for all of them, and then I realized I need to flip it upside down. So that's what I did. After I hooked up all the wires and everything, now you can see that the lights are facing down, which is how I want it to look so that I can put my plugs in the proper orientation. So sort of a critical step I nearly forgot to mention. So now I'm gonna go around here with the zip ties, got a whole pack of 8-inch zip ties, and I'm gonna decide how I want my plugs and stuff and tidy up these wires. I mean, you could leave them hang like that. They'd just be sort of a hazard. So I'm gonna tidy all this up. It won't take me just a couple of minutes. Well, there's probably prettier ways you could do this, but zip ties works just good enough for me. So I got everything tidied up, so it's not just dangling down in big loops and everything. I guess you could add, I don't know, $3 or $4, whatever one of those orange splitters costs. You can pick them up at Walmart or any of the home improvement stores. That just allows you to, plug both of these in and save receptacle space. Depending on how you're going to do your plug, that might be a good idea for you. So I've got the extension cord that's plugged into the wall right here, and we'll plug that in, and nothing's on. Flip switch. There we go. There's that side. Flip this switch. There's that side. So these things are really, really bright. I don't know if it's going to come across on camera or not. This is exactly how bright these are, but it hurts your eyes. You don't want to look at these things. So I'll show you now what it looks like, how we're going to hang this up. So we'll go down in the basement and hang these up over those benches, and I'll show you the knot that I'm using, and it will save you having to buy any kind of weird adjustment apparatus. You can just use a piece of string or a piece of rope and lower these and raise these. It's super, super great, this little knot that my nephew showed me last year. So let's go downstairs, hang these up. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I brought 3 of the light frames back down here to the basement where I need to hang them up. That was the existing one that I think I showed you earlier. And then this frame is the frame I actually built last year, and it had 4 lights hanging on it. Let's see, it had these 4 on it. And then I ran out of light fixtures. I did miscellaneous stuff over there, so I took off my miscellaneous stuff, and part of that 40 new fixtures that I ordered was these 4. So I mounted these 4 up last night. Those are 2 of the new frames that we built, or that I built, and showed you how to put them together, you know, hanging the lights on them. So now I'm going to show you what I do to hang this up. And depending on your situation, you know, hanging it is as simple or as complicated as you want to make it. I am in my basement, so you can see I've got all kind of options for putting screws in. Now this thing doesn't weigh much. I don't know how many pounds this weighs, but it's not much. In fact, I carried 2 of them down here, 1 in each arm, carried them down from the shop to the basement here. So they're not that heavy. They're sort of big and awkward, but we're going to support this with 4 ropes. So what I'm going to do is, if there is a sort of a joist spreader conveniently located, I might use that. I'm definitely not going to hang off of plumbing. I'm definitely not going to hang off of wiring, so don't do that. But what you can do is, using the same 3-inch screws that we built the wooden frame out of, these are plenty stout to run these into one of the floor joists and then tie that rope and let that rope hang off of that. So that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to go around and I'm just going to eyeball. I'm going to stand here and look between, you know, between that piece of the frame and that piece of the frame. About right here is where I want a rope to hang. So I'm going to look directly above that, and I'm going to find a spot and be like, I think I'll just run a screw in the side of that joist right there. So I'm going to do that on all 4 corners, run some screws in, and then I'll show you how easy it is to hang them. So I ran my screws in, 1 at each corner essentially, and then I cut a piece of rope. You can do this with a smaller diameter string. You know, anything that will support the weight of the frame will work, but a little bit larger diameter rope like this will help you with the size of the knots. It's easier to slide the knot up and down to adjust the height of your light fixture. So like, you're gonna have to move this pretty regularly. In my situation here, I generally raise the whole frame up and get it out of the way whenever I water. So plan on sliding these knots pretty frequently, and depending on how small your hands are or how much your tolerance is for rope burn, if you use a smaller diameter than this stuff here, this was on sale at Home Depot recently, and so that's why I picked up a spool of it, or a bundle of it, whatever you want to call. This is the stuff that I was using last year, and this was on the verge of being too small. So I thought this year, since I'm going to have to rearrange things, I was moving everything around, I went ahead and upgraded the size of my rope. And again, I think it was 100 foot of rope for like $6 or $8 at Home Depot, so it's not that expensive. I'm gonna prop the camera up one way or another here and show you the knot that we're gonna use, because I very much doubt I can tie it with one hand. Okay, so here's how we're gonna tie this up. We're just gonna go around the frame of the thing one time, and then this knot, I'm not sure what the name of this knot is, but you go around once, go around twice, come back up, around and through, and then you sort of pull that down tight, and then you can slide this knot on your rope. So you sort of hold on to the body of the knot here, hold the rope down here, and you can just slide this up, and it will carry the weight, and you can slide it up. You can also just slide it down. It works out great for this. Well, I got all 4 of my knots tied. I went ahead and plugged in an extension cord just to make sure everything's still working properly. It is. As far as the light output goes, so there's a thing, and I'm not going to pretend to understand the science behind this, but the usable light for a plant, the way I understand it, is measured in something like moles per meter squared, or ppfd. There is an app that you can get. It's a free app for your phone. It's called Photone. And if I wasn't filming with my phone, I would show you everything that goes into it. You can get this free app, Photone, and it has a meter that it accesses your phone's camera, and it uses your phone's camera to measure the ppfd. And the PPFD required for a lot of plants is something in the neighborhood of like 130 to 150. And the PPFD that I got from laying my phone on the wire here, which is about 6 inches below the lights. So I laid my phone on the wire, and then I can read my phone and take a reading. And it ranges, depending on where you move it around in here, it's pretty sensitive. It ranges anywhere from like 145 to about 160. Just, and that's with a 6-inch gap above the top of, what would be a plant. So, keeping the light 6 inches above the plant is giving me a reading of like 145 to 160, something like that, which is sufficient, but it's a little on the low end. I would like to see it 150 to 170. But then when I add my Mylar blanket, so I just draped this blanket, and I'm going to do this with one hand if I can. These are emergency blankets. You can get these on Amazon, like a 10-pack for like $3 or $4. So then when I just drape the Mylar blanket over here, it's so reflective that when I then take a reading, without moving my phone, I had my phone laying on the wire there, and I took a reading, and it was like 142 or 152, something like that. It raised it about 25 on that meter, raised it from like, say, 150 to 175. So these Mylar blankets make a big, big difference. You can see that one went out. I don't know if you can see it or not. There's a timer plugged into the wall there. So I've got these on a timer. They go off about 10 p.m., it must be about 10 p.m. now. So that's it in a nutshell, guys. Use these Mylar blankets, and it will make a huge difference for your plants. Of course, it holds the humidity in a little closer to the plants. You can see how that sort of makes a tent. It doesn't make much difference in the humidity and everything, but it makes a huge difference in the way that the light bounces around inside there and is not just wasted up and out. And then I use these clips. Use these clips to hold these blankets together. So on this one frame, I have 4 of these little space blankets, and I'm just attaching them with these clips to my rope. So I adjust my light frame to the height that I want. Then I drape my blankets over there, and I clip them on with those clips. And then next time I need to water, I'll just unclip everything, pull the blankets off, raise the frame up, do my watering, drop the frame back down, put my blankets back on, clip it back up, and then I don't have to touch it for a few days. So, just every time I water, I got to do that. But I hope I helped you with this one, guys. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll help you if I can. If you like this video, click the thumbs up button. If you want to see more videos like this or me working on all kinds of stuff out in the shop, click subscribe. Till the next time, keep on tinkering.